Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by 3Chi and Barstool Sports. It is Robbie Fox, and I am here with Clem to talk about the Peacemaker finale and the entire season one of Peacemaker, because we know you guys have been asking for the Peacemaker recaps. We couldn't really get around to it. It took us a little bit longer, but we are going to talk about the entire season, our favorite moments with the funniest moments, the MVP, the LVP. We're going to give out awards. This is going to be a great episode, Clem. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm all right. I mean, I didn't really love the series, didn't really love the finale. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to say sarcasm, right? Isn't that what Vigilante told us?
Oh,
That I
nice.
was sarcastic. That was my sarcastic thing. I loved it. I was fired up. Everyone who was on us from basically day one saying, "You idiots got to get in the basement, watch this, talk about it." It's almost like a regret that we didn't have a chance to. But when you throw three out at once, it boggles the mind. It gets me all hazy. We have enough
You
stuff
can't
going
do
on.
that to dads.
You can't do that to dads, exactly. And it's not like there was nothing else. There was no other content going on. We went from Boba, and what was before Boba? We had Hawkeye. Yeah, so we've been in the basement nonstop. So it's unbelievable that they just threw that at us, and the way that they fucking put that show on. Tip of the cap to James Gunn, John Cena, and the whole crew, because they fucking nailed it.
I tweeted, I think this is the best DCEU offering by far, by a long shot. And I think it's honestly one of the best things James Gunn has ever done. Like, I've seen some of his other stuff other than Guardians and stuff. I liked this better than the Suicide Squad, even. I would say, at worst, this would be my third favorite thing he ever did after Guardians 1 and 2.
And that's the highest of high praise too. And
Yeah.
for me, Guardians 2 is probably my favorite non-Avengers, is definitely my favorite non-Avengers film. Guardians 1 is probably right in that mix as well. And this isn't there. It's a tier below, but it is next with a big old bullet shot from Peacemaker's gun. It's unbelievable. And like you said, I didn't love the Suicide Squad. I think you liked it more than I did. I liked it.
Yeah.
There were some moments it felt uneven. I thought there was some stuff I loved. There was some stuff I was kind of meh about, but I did see that there was something there. And one of the things I think we talked about during the review of it was I wanted to see more of the crew that was kind of calling all the shots, with Waller. And that was a good portion of what we got was that crew, which was so likable and just had great chemistry. And we said going into this year, we made our predictions for 2022. And I said, I hope DC. I feel like DC is going to have like an 8-8 season. I'm not saying it's going to be 12-4 and they're going to be juggernauts, but I don't think we're going to typical like 4-12 embarrassing garbage. And with this, now I'm starting to feel like 8-8 is almost. I'm not going to say it's going to be like the floor for this year, but it feels like an 8-8 season is easily within reach. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give the old Clem famous sports analogy here for the how I feel about DC after the Peacemaker. DC feels like the Cincinnati Bengals. They've had some absolute dredges of years. They've had some rough bumps. They've had like the Bengals under Marvin Lewis though. Like they low-key had some, decent seasons. They'd always make the playoffs. I don't even know if that's a fair way. Like Batman, the old Batmans, even the Bengals back in the day, right? Like Boomer Esiason, they made a few Super Bowls and all that kind of stuff way back when. However, this is like this year's Bengals where it's like, ooh, there's something there. And James Gunn could almost be Joe Burrow, right? It's like he did it in college football, just like James Gunn did it with Marvel. And it's like, all right, there's something here. And I don't know how the rest of the season's going to go. But like even this year with the Bengals, like the Bengals look pretty good early in the season. Everyone's like, ooh, like, Jamar Chase is out there making plays. Joey Burrow's under center. And I feel confident in DC for the first time in years, like I imagine a lot of Cincinnati fans feel about their team for the first time in years. So big start. I'm now bumping like my expectations up on you, DC. So don't let me down with all your other projects this year. Obviously, the Batman is the next big one. But that's kind of where I'm coming out post Peacemaker.
This is definitely one in the win column for DC. And talking about James Gunn, he's been saying Guardians 3 is going to be the last Guardians movie he does, the last movie that we see with this squad. He's doing the holiday special. If that's going to be his exit from Guardians, and if that's going to be his exit from Marvel, I mean, why not make him the Feige of DC? I know I'm not the first person to say it. People have been saying it online. But it just seems to make so much sense if he would want to do that job. Now, I don't know if he would be like, no, I would rather do more creative ventures, not just superhero movies. He might be one of those people, and it's understandable. But if he would be accepting of that, and if you let him map an entire comic book storyline out where it involves the Justice League, where it involves Peacemaker, where it involves heroes we've never heard of before, like Peacemaker and Vigilante and Judo Master and stuff, he would crush that shit, I think.
I'm with you. And I would almost prefer him do that than almost take over other series individually, because it's, for all as great as James Gunn is, it is very James Gunny, that stuff. And that stuff doesn't play with all the different characters in a universe, especially some of the big characters, which, I mean, I don't think he would touch anyway. I don't, like a James Gunn Batman would feel very weird, right? Like
yeah.
The orphan who fights crime at night, and there's like, you know, jokes.
And he's
every
got
5
AirPods
seconds.
in too.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wayne Enterprises AirPods so he could listen to music on the way. Yeah.
Him and Alfred are just like bantering about like some nonsensical thing. It feels like a Curb episode almost, with like the nonsense.
Yeah, Larry David plays Alfred.
Yeah. Oh. There you go. There you go. You nailed it, Bob. But that almost does feel like his role. And it is crazy that, like, between the tweet that then, you know, got him canned from Guardians, and then DC picks him up. And even the way
the fact that this all came from that is fucking crazy. The way the universe works, it's like the Force works in mysterious ways.
Exactly. And even like the way DC, they do it with like the logo where it has like the DC logo and it gets bloody and then the doves fly out, like that bloody stuff. Like James Gunn can do that, as we saw in Suicide Squad and in Peacemaker. He can handle that side of things. If that's the kind of realness comic book side they want to do, the edgier side, which again, they can do, because Marvel can't do that because they're owned by the mouse, and the mouse doesn't want blood and crazy stuff going on. And I got a little boy who's home from school right now, jumping up all over the place. That's the Marvel target audience. The DC target audience is the two idiots on the podcast right now. I can't show them Peacemaker. I can't show them Peacemaker, right?
No, God, I mean,
not even Bobs could say that.
Yeah, no. We were talking about Black Widow, like, ooh, I don't know if you can or can't. But yeah, we had a huge storm on the East Coast today, and that's why Clem's kids are home from school. Huge storm.
Huge storm. Power out for both schools. We lost power 3 different times. I hope we don't lose power during this podcast. It's going to be very interesting how it all goes. Right. Oh, actually, I also had to shout out like the little things with this series. Like the you cannot discount like the pun titles. It's Cow or Never, Mern After Reading, The Chode Less Traveled. Like that's just little.
The little post-credit scenes that were just the tiniest little jokes that didn't have to be like teases for the next episode. I enjoyed that even.
Yeah, exactly. And James Gunn has always had fun with that stuff. Like when I remember when Guardians 2, it was like they have 7 post-credit scenes where it's like he's almost like, you know, joking about how silly it is how Marvel does their stuff. So I always loved that. So they nailed it. They nailed it on every fucking level.
I called this like almost a perfect season of TV, in that you can watch this entire season, even if they didn't get picked up for season 2, which they did. Luckily, we're going to get more of Peacemaker. But even if they didn't, this would be just like a complete story. And it works as a beginning and everyone has story arcs that work out by the end with kind of a bow tied on it. Like I compared it to A New Hope to you. I texted you. I said it felt like A New Hope in that you want to see more. But even if you didn't get more, it works.
Yeah, it has the 1 season worth of fun and excitement that you're like, that was I could rewatch that, but it also does present a foundation to build stuff on top of for the future. Yep. And again, these are characters I don't know if like how hardcore of a DC fan you have to be to know about Peacemaker and Judo Master Vigilante. I don't know if they even existed. I imagine they existed in the comics, but like it kind of goes with Guardians too. Guardians was kind of like this like whatever Marvel franchise that again James Gunn. I remember seeing the commercial, and this was around the time I became a dad, so movies just got thrown out the window at that point, and that wasn't even an option. But then I remember seeing like the reviews and the money it was making, and I'm like, holy shit, whoever did that must have crushed it. And I'm hearing Bradley Cooper's in it and Vin Diesel. I'm like, oh, it's the star names. No, those guys were just voices, and he just absolutely fucking nails it. It's incredible, and it's in such a unique way. And again, and we'll discuss throughout this episode, and then kind of the full series recap. The fingerprints are in the same spot. The music was awesome. The comedic points hit. And you mentioned this in our finale preview podcast, is how it hits as just a regular show with, you know, unexpected twists and turns. It hits on the comedy. It hits on the fight scenes, which is something that, you know, not every comic book show or movie can hit. And it just hits on all those little marks. Again, like the music stuff, the branding of it all. You feel like you're in this universe when you're there. The opening montage to start stuff off where you're like, all right, it's Peacemaker time. All those things he just fucking nailed them all. So, and then he stuck the landing, as we'll get into now.
Yeah, so let's talk about the finale. The goal for this episode is we've got to kill the cow, as we saw last week. It's this gross caterpillar. It's got like the texture of a ball sack with spider eyes on it. It's disgusting. It's got nipples. They're milking it. Oh, it's so gross. And the plan is to use a sonic boom helmet that Peacemaker has. He's got a ton of helmets. One that gives everyone within like a 25-mile radius scabies. One that's an anti-gravity helmet, one that is a Chekhov's human torpedo helmet, and the anti-gravity one goes up into the sky. They give it to Eagly. They give the sonic boom one to Eagly, and they're like, go drop it on the barn. He just fucking flies away. He drops it elsewhere. Eagly kind of falls short in that moment. Brutal. And Chris Smith's father appears to him when they go searching for it in Force Ghost form, kind of like Dexter. I've been referencing Dexter a lot because I just rewatched that, and his father comes back to him and talks to him like that. And as we see, even at the end of this episode, I think that's going to probably be something that goes forward as part of Chris Smith's character, part of Peacemaker's story. Harcourt sees him arguing with his father, and she's like, what the hell are you doing, man? She kind of talks through with him, and then he sees the helmet is like in the leaves where he was arguing, so it kind of took him to him. The plan is to send Economos in as one of the security guards. Now, Clem, when this happens, do you think, oh, here goes our guy?
Yeah, so for people that didn't listen to the finale preview podcast, which we kind of just put only on YouTube, so subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe. My mom's
basically 20K. We're recreating the Peacemaker intro as we mentioned as well.
With help. We already have Frank the Tank on board, Nate, Nick Hamilton, and more ready to jump on. I said, oh my God, this is it. I've sentenced my guy Economos to death. And I wrote, him dressing up as the cop scares me. I'm like, going in as a cop to just the lair of villains, that guy very seldom comes out in one piece.
Yeah, and they want him to do the, if you see something, say something, basically, and just drop a bag. And it's like, oh shit. So he goes down, he drops the bag, but as soon as he sees the cow, he's like, oh, fuck this, I'm getting the fuck out of here. What the fuck? Wait, no, I didn't sign up for this. He's like, another kaiju? No more kaijus. And he starts running up. Economos is acting a little bit sus, so one of the cops that we've seen throughout the entire series that is a butterfly pulls him aside and starts to ask him questions, mainly, why does your human that you took over dye that beard? And for the first time all season, he admits to it. And he's like, I thought nobody noticed. I wanted to look younger. I had to buy the cheapest brand because I'm severely underpaid. But until recently, one guy started mentioning it all the time, and he just would give me shit for it all the time. And they cut to Chris Smith, and he looks so sad about it. He looks so regretful about it. Harcourt looks at him like, what the fuck, man? And he lets him go. He's like, humans are pathetic. And he's like, yeah. And goes, and then he gets discovered anyway. They have to set the sonic boom off. They start setting the charges off. I think they have 5 of them. So they start boom, boom, boom. And then we get the intro song, Do You Want to Taste It by Wigwam. And just an insane action sequence. We were speaking a little bit about the action sequences before and how creative they are, but it's like not just your generic action sequences. We're getting people sliced up, heads rolling on the ground, blood everywhere, kind of James Gunn's horror roots coming through with like the blood and guts stuff of it all. And Vigilante and Harcourt both shot and injured very badly. And Abadeo saves Harcourt by pulling a butterfly out of her mouth right before it's about to go in. Pretty fucking awesome.
It was an incredible scene. And I have to say though, like you have like the over the top comic stuff, but when John goes into the barn and like pukes because he's so fucking nervous, I was like, that's what like a normal person would do. Yeah, that's what I would do if they're like, Clem, you dumb asshole, go dress up as the cop and go in there. The only person, I would be freaking the fuck out. And then I would like, I see that cow, I'm like, no fucking way, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So I 100% related to all that. And even like, that was the other thing about this. It's very grounded in like the relatable. Like when what's her name's Adebayo. When she's on with Waller and she's like all right, mom. Like the mom respect when someone's mom's on the phone and everyone just falls into line, even though they're not even in person. That was so fucking like real, man. The helmets reminded me of the Hawkeye arrows, where it's like you have all these different like
Yeah.
things, and I was like, I can't wait to see which ones play out, which ones we're not going to do, dude. The scabies one, that I've never had scabies. I know people who've had it though. They say it is the worst, and I
Do
hope this is
people
a
still
check.
get scabies?
Yeah, you can still get it. I don't know if it's, I think it might be like onset by stress. And then I guess if you just happen to get it, um, Bob, sneak attack the YouTube people with the scabies picture right here. Boom, throw it in there for
Boom.
the YouTube. That is what you're dealing with
It's
scabies.
like
No
Fight Club when they
fucking
put the
bueno.
one pornographic frame in.
Yes, the random dick just popping up there. I've had friends who had it, so I do hope the scabies helmet does come around like in season 2 at some point, which I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll get into. And I loved like they bring up the Green Arrow thing like during
Yeah.
conversation, and then we go back to Aquaman fucking fish. I don't have. Did they mention Batman not going down on people yet? Did they ever bring that up?
No, they didn't. They didn't bring that up, but they should.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'll know James Gunn has made his stamp on the DCU if he takes over. If like Batman either goes down on Catwoman or he says something about why he can't go down on Catwoman, because that's an internet thing that then blurs the line between reality and whatever the fuck this DCU is. And I, like you said with Eagly, when he's dropping the helmet, it again, another beat with Guardians. It was almost like with Groot, like the character that doesn't talk when he's trying to do the bomb or he's trying to get Yondu's plate for his head, and he's bringing back like the eyeball and all these like random stupid things that he's not supposed to bring back. So I just, again, that's the kind of shit that I just loved. I absolutely loved it. And did you get queasy watching John puke? Because I was like watching it and I was like, oh, I'm not feeling it. Just the word queasy makes me queasy.
I didn't get queasy looking at that, but I got queasy looking at his shin when he tried to save the day and he just tripped over the fence and broke his leg. That was one of the funniest moments in the show for me because I just did not see it coming at all. When he trips over that fence, his leg is completely mangled. Oh my God, I had tears coming through my eyes. But Peacemaker has to go underground. He gets trapped under a bunch of debris, this huge pile of debris. Abadayo goes under looking for him wearing the human torpedo helmet. So you're like, oh, here we go. Chekhov's human torpedo helmet. Here we go. She's going to do it. She starts to take away a bunch of the debris. And then we get like almost a Silence of the Lambs fake out where Detective Song is actually the one that pulls Cena through. We have a little fight. She activates the human torpedo helmet, sends herself flying into the wall. Another very funny scene. And then Song stops fighting Cena. And she's like, come on, you got to help us pull the lever so we could transport the caterpillar elsewhere, the cow. And he's like, why the fuck would I help you? So Song explains the butterfly's mission to Peacemaker at this point. And she says, basically, all of the butterflies come from a planet that became uninhabitable, unlivable, kind of like Krypton, possibly. And they all came to Earth and basically saw the same fate for Earth. We're going to global warming. We're going to whatever it may be to send the Earth into failure. So they took over human bodies and are going to make the hard decisions that humans can't, is what they're saying. And it mirrors kind of Peacemaker's ideology of we're going to kill as many people as we can to get ultimate peace in the end. And we have Peacemaker has a decision to make. Am I going to shoot this person in front of me, or am I going to help them out and transport the cow so Earth could eventually live? And he shoots her. And he also sends Abadayo into the fucking cow, which is, oh my God, so disgusting. You thought Drax going into that monster in Guardians 2 was gross. All right, with a rated R budget, it's going to get even grosser. Organs falling on the ground. And the Justice League shows up at the end. This was the big cameo everyone was talking about, but they were too late. We get the Flash, Aquaman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. But Superman and Wonder Woman are just silhouettes. They're kind of shadowy figures. And as Peacemaker is walking past, he's like, you're too late, you fish fucker, or something like that. Like, I don't fuck
you're late,
fish.
you fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Go fuck another face, dickhead.
Yeah. It's like, I don't fuck fish. I hate that rumor. And Barry's like, it's not a rumor. And then Jason Momoa is like, fuck off, Barry. And I saw so many people, Clem, furious that they made fish fucker jokes like, oh my God, Snyder did so much to redeem Aquaman and make him out to be a god who God was respected. So many people so mad. Everyone chill out. It was a funny fucking joke. And coming from Peacemaker, it makes sense. Seeing Jason Momoa do it, I'm sure he was down to do the cameo. I'm sure he was down with the joke if he was the one to show up. They could have just blurred him out and made a different joke, you know? So people, don't get your panties up in a bunch. This was a fucking funny scene.
Hey, if people are upset about it, they can be upset about it. I'm rolling with the gun version of DC. I didn't see the Snyder cut. I didn't see the non-Snyder cut. I don't really care. I know those movies were kind of just panned. I know that they never they never grew anything for DC. It just wasn't very fruitful. I'm rolling with this shit. I want Aquaman to get at least his balls busted about fucking fish. Even if someone catches him fucking a fish, could be a mermaid, and it's a very beautiful mermaid. It doesn't matter. Still a fish. I'm fine with it. And hey, listen, if it's not your cup of tea, like I've learned through the Star Wars year, all the sequel trilogy, there's no use in trying to change someone's mind. You just say, all right, that's not what you like. That's fine. I fucking loved it. I love that entire cameo scene. I had no idea it was coming. And like, it gave like, it was, you know, your typical James Gunn where it's like it's a very heavy scene as he's carrying Hardcore out from the battle. You know if she's gonna make it, and then he kind of just makes you laugh, and you're like, oh shit! Like I didn't think the Justice League was actually gonna come, and the fact that they actually showed up and they pulled that off perfectly. I thought it was absolutely awesome. And you said it with the cow guts too, like. That was like Drax going through that monster. There's a lot of like beats that you kind of catch with it there. Also, when did you find it? Like I was thinking about it when Hardcore kept saying Adebayo, he's like, "You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get hurt." It's like he's not saying you're gonna die and get fucking murdered by a bunch of like aliens over there. You kept saying you're gonna get hurt. It was making me laugh out loud the entire. And then he breaks his leg just like taking a step was awesome. Also, I have a take here. Not sure how this is gonna go on the podcast. Peacemaker, best hero to ever wield a shield in a battle. I just had to see you. See, you got to get to YouTube to see Bob's face as I threw that at him in real time. Where was that shield the whole fucking season, though? That shield was awesome.
Yeah, it must have been brand new. He traded in like I as he pulled it out, I said out loud, I said, "Oh, he's trading in the weapons for a shield," and then he pulled out like 2 machine guns. And I was like, "Well, maybe he's just adding a shield, you know, a little defense to the repertoire."
It was perfectly violent, that scene. That's the way I describe it. Perfectly violent, not over the top. I think some of the Suicide Squad was over the top. I think obviously on purpose, just to be like, all right, this is ridiculous. This is like a game of Doom 2. I thought this was perfectly violent, where it still felt like comic booky crazy, but it felt like, you know, real. And it's like, oh, I'm actually watching a comic book battle that I can do, because DC doesn't give a fuck. They're like, do whatever you want. It's kind of like with Barstool. Dave's like, do whatever you want. We need to grow here. Like say whatever you want, as long as we don't get sued or canceled. Do whatever you want. So shout out to them for nailing that.
Do you think if you rewatched the Suicide Squad now that you know and love the Chris Smith character, do you think you would like it more?
I will rewatch it. That's a good question. Yeah,
because I remember like he was part of the thing you weren't like all in about, but now that you are all in on Cena as that character, maybe you would like look at it through a different lens.
And that's the thing, is I got so much depth about him in the episode. And it's funny too, because I said it during Suicide Squad and even sometimes here, I love cursing. Cursing is one of my favorite things in the fucking world to do. However, like they just were throwing F-bombs. I was like, all right, this is getting a little comical now. It's almost absurd. But I feel like Suicide Squad was even more so. And then it's like I'm watching John Cena, Mr. American Boy, the poster child of, you know, he's basically like the new Hulk Hogan, right? That's what he was in WWE for a while there.
Super and then I'm watching Cena, they called him, because he was like basically Superman.
Exactly. And then I had like, you know, Idris Elba, who was, you know, Stringer Bell, like the classical, like he was like the classy part of the Barksdale crew in The Wire. And with that fucking accent, I was like, I just felt it was weird just having everybody throw a million F-bombs, but I felt like they just landed better. So I'm going to go back, rewatch it, and I think I'll like it more. And also, like, I don't know, I never understood Peacemaker's whole persona and his role in the movie. And after seeing this now, that makes a lot more sense in the way he does everything. Also, John Cena, we see this in the first episode when he's having, was that the first episode when he has sex with the butterfly? That dude is a fucking real life action figure. I don't like his body is not real life. I don't understand it. It's like I've come to grips with The Rock not being a real human being. John Cena is right there, if not even more preposterous than the fucking Rock, from fucking toes.
John Cena used to wear a headband on his arm. Like when he wrestles, he wears a headband on his arm because his arm is as big as a head.
As a head,
it's as big as a head. The final sequence of the episode is amazing, and as you predicted, James Gunn knocked it out of the park with his song selection. It was Apologize by The Last Vegas. And we see Abadayo speaking out against her mother and Task Force X. We do see Amanda Waller, like I predicted, so I got one right on the prediction sheet. And everyone on the show basically gets a happy ending. We see Diebeard gets a job at the Belle Reve Penitentiary.
Hey, don't call him Diebeard.
Sorry.
People like you are the reason why
John.
Economos
Yeah.
has.
We see Harcourt learning to walk again. She's kind of getting there, and Peacemaker waited for her at the hospital. They kind of hold hands. They both are crying, and it's a nice ending. Abadayo reunites with her girlfriend at home. Peacemaker is with Goff, feeding him the last of that little liquid, and his father and Eagly, and we just kind of pan out. That is the ending of the show. I thought it was a really nice ending, and I thought as he was pouring out the last of that butterfly stuff, I don't want to give any of my enemies any ideas, but if you took away the Arizona green tea factory, I think my race would go out as well.
The end of the Fox clan ends right there when the end of the Arizona green tea factory. The song nailed it. And I wanted to bring it back when the fight was going on, and the fact that they brought it back to the opening credit song, I thought was cool.
That was so good.
It's so woven into this series at this point now.
And it's like almost like ballsy, like he had to know that fans were going to love it so much to include it in the final battle, right?
Because if it flopped, then everyone would have been like, "Oh God, this song again." It just is like the end of an awful series. Like, nope, absolutely crushed it. The whole I did not. I like the way that they spun the Harcourt thing, where she's like, Chris, and then you think he's going to go see Vigilante, who's in there, right? Because he went in, and then it's Harcourt. And I thought Harcourt was completely dead. I thought she was dead as fuck. That was a great redirection. And now we're still at the point. Are they going to bang? And I'll tell you, flat out. Episode 1, when she's at, I think it was episode 1, when she's at the bar and she's kind of just drinking her beer, not giving her the time. She's that little edge to her. Bonking myself. This is Jennifer Holland, who's I guess James Gunn's lover. I guess, can we call her a lover? Is that what we'd call it? I guess partner would be the term. I'm gonna say lover. You can't fucking cancel me in the
lover's nice. Yeah.
She's a lover. That's a very nice thing. You're gonna hate on love? Yeah, exactly. It's Valentine's season. I like the sexual tension, man. It is building and building and building, and I am in love with Jennifer Holland. And like the little things, like you see the dog dressed up greeting Adebayo at the door. I thought that was cool. I was hoping, praying to God, my guy Economos was gonna have like a year's supply of L'Oreal just waiting for him at his desk. I was praying to God, and I thought, like, when Judo Master's there eating his Cheetos,
we see him as well.
I thought I was going to get I called it again on the preview podcast. I thought Eagly was going to swoop down and pick him up. We didn't get that goddamn beat, but Eagly did drop like the opossum or whatever. So it was nice to see that. They nailed, they landed it. They fucking nailed the landing. And I'm so fucking happy that they did. Cause again, I'm going to have my headline for the blog is going to be Peacemaker is one of the best shows on TV, and if you don't watch it, you're a fucking idiot. Something along those lines. And I couldn't say that if the finale sucked, but they nailed it.
And speaking of people who nail everything they do, let's talk about Cuts Clothing. Before we get into the rest of the season, our favorite moments and stuff, let's talk about our favorite clothes. There's a lot already on our minds. The last thing we want to do is spend too much time and too much energy on what to wear. So Cuts Clothing has perfected the art and science of men's shirts so you can throw one on and look great without ever thinking twice about it. I wore Cuts Clothing on my Valentine's dinner date. That's how you know it's nice stuff. It's like, ooh, let me throw on the nice stuff. Every Cuts shirt is designed for a modern tailored fit, and they're insanely comfortable. That's true. Plus, Cuts has all of the essentials for looking sharp, like tees, hoodies, polos, and more. So you can stop bouncing between brands to shop for different shirts. You find the one that looks good on you. You get the same shirt in a bunch of different colors. That's what I like to do. So go get their clothing at cutsclothing.com/basement right now. That's cutsclothing.com/basement. And you will get 15% off your first order by using that /basement. It's the only shirt worth wearing. Join hundreds of thousands of guys who have made the simple decision to elevate their wardrobe with Cuts. Now, Clem, let's talk about some of the best moments, some of the funniest moments. I wrote down a bunch. So let me get your best and funniest moment of the season to start.
All right. Best moment of the season for me. I have two, so it's very close. The Justice League cameo, I absolutely love. And this is coming from someone, maybe it's since they haven't really gotten into the DC universe. I love them extra more because I just know they are the iconic figures and stuff like that. I just love seeing them. I love that they brought humor into it. So I thought that was great. And then chainsawing the gorilla in half. It was,
Yeah.
I had no idea it was coming. The fact that Cosmos does it right in Vigilante's face. I mean, kind of.
I thought Vigilante was going to get a chainsaw kill in this episode. I was waiting for him to go into the barn and find a chainsaw because it would kind of make sense that being there, but no.
No. So so that was my favorite moment of the season. Funniest? I don't really know. I don't like it was also so fucking funny. I don't know.
Let me rattle off a bunch of funny moments.
Let me hear
I wrote down a bunch. I loved the Berenstain Bears going back and forth because I'm one of the people who always thought it was Berenstain. I'm actually one of the people who says it the wrong way. So
Mandela effect like a motherfucker. The Mandela effect is a motherfucker with the Berenstain Bears.
Crazy. Abadayo shows everyone a picture of her wife naked. That was very funny. That was like a shocking, oh my God, I can't believe we're going there in a DC superhero show. Vigilante being tortured, the whole thing with his pinky toe. Oh my God, that's when you start to love Vigilante, when he unmaxes and you learn more about him. Vigilante thinks butterflies are birds. That was kind of like our penguins or mammals discussion, right? I texted you. I was like,
your penguins is mammals discussion. Don't you put me in that boat.
The conversation where John Cena rattles off all of the people they should have put in jail instead of his father, and he just names every figure in pop culture: Ariana Grande, BTS, the Spice Girls, whoever it was. The joke about Batman's rogue gallery with the neighbor, where he's like, Batman puts all his villains and they break out. I loved that old guy. He was great.
The neighbor. That's just my favorite, funniest moment. He was awesome. And the fact that he was in the opening credits, it makes me love it even more because you forget about him and they seem like, yes, that guy was
the janitor in the opening credits that was only like in 2 episodes. Like I loved that as well. Like the whole entire cast got to be in it. The girlfriend of the guy who they broke into his house trying to fuck Peacemaker. Everything about that was funny to me. Every time that they were like referencing him and she was still trying to get Peacemaker out of the crime. He's like, stop it. Stop trying to defend him. And then finally, the whole conversation about the ending of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, how it goes to a freeze frame with a bunch of gunshots going off. And Vigilante thinks it of the most optimistic way anyone's ever pictured it.
Yeah. And you know who I love the police officer when she would give shit back to Vigilante's dad, where he'd have some racist thing to say, and then she kind of like reverse it on him every single time. And then the fucking her partner would always do the complete fuck. She's like, "Why are you saying that? How does that make sense right now? Like you ruined my own joke." I love that whole thing. And
they were both really good.
Yeah, they were. And he is like an all-time that guy. Like I looked it up before we went on, and like I saw he was like, I don't know where I know him from. I know he was in Scary Movie. It's like the one movie that I know I've seen. There's a bunch of movies I haven't seen on his IMDb, but he is a big time that guy, and it drove me nuts the entire time I was watching. I'm like, where the fuck do I know you from? So yeah, the cops were fantastic, and it got to the point where I was legitimately bummed when they became butterflies. I was like, oh man, like I was hoping
when Goff goes into the detective song, that was like an oh fuck moment when the blood spewing out of her mouth and shit. It's like they really made it brutal. And then I put some of the best moments, some of the ones that we didn't mention. John Cena playing Home Sweet Home on the piano, him actually playing Home Sweet Home. You know, the Motley Crue fan, and they loved that. The first butterfly fight and kill when he fights the girl that he like had sex with and then blows her up in the parking lot. That was a big like, oh fuck, this show is going to be awesome moment for me. The butterflies take over the police station. That was straight up James Gunn doing horror movie stuff. Peacemaker versus the gorilla, Economos chainsaw kill I wrote down. Myrn is a butterfly twist when we see the butterfly in his brain for the first time. That was amazing. Well, not even that. When we first, he has the like tongue come out, that gross tongue. Disgusting. Kite Man and Batmite become canon. 2 ridiculous characters in the Batman pantheon just being talked about like they were real. I loved. And then a wholesome moment, the 11th Street Kids moment, where they take the picture, they're all singing the song, they show the tattoo, they're becoming a family. That made me realize, and one of our first awards I'll kind of transition into was the Marvel comparison you said. And you said Marvel show comparison. I couldn't find a Marvel show comparison in my mind. So I said that made me realize that although I thought the Suicide Squad was going to be the Guardians of the Galaxy of DC, it's actually this squad. It's actually the Peacemaker squad that I think are the Guardians of the Galaxy of DC, because this is a show that I truly did not expect to like as much as I did. And the Suicide Squad I expected to love, and then I did love. So this was like took me by surprise, and my Marvel comparison was Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's no, that's perfect. I wasn't even when I said Marvel comparison, I wasn't even talking about comparing it to another Marvel franchise, but I think you have to say, like you said, Suicide Squad doesn't quite hit the same notes with Guardians as this does. I'm right there with you. I was saying, where do you lump Peacemaker? If you say best comic book shows of the
Oh,
last year, so I'm just saying because I haven't seen The Boys, I haven't seen Invincible yet. But where would you lump this to the list of Marvel shows? Would you have it
I
one, two,
see.
three, four?
It might be like two or three for me. Like
It's
I loved Loki. I loved Loki so much. I really liked WandaVision, but like WandaVision didn't nail the ending like this did. It didn't feel as satisfying as this did by the end, where you still had some loose ends and stuff to tie up. So I would put this like two probably after Loki.
I have it two, and like if I'm feeling extra, if I hear the wigwam, I put it one. Like it's right there. It
Yeah,
might be the
it's
best.
really right there. Yeah.
And I talked about doing this recently, and I did it the other day. Was I went back and watched that last episode of Loki again because
Oh yeah.
I was like I got to get the Kang vibes and be getting all fired up for this next phase here. Multiverse of Madness coming out, and I'll tell you, man, like that I forgot like all the gravity with him and Sylvie and stuff like that, and I was like, oh shit, this was a fucking
Miss
awesome
Minutes
episode.
appearing in the mansion in the beginning,
Yeah,
right? That was like kind of scary. It's
and
cool.
then all the different Lokis that one episode. So there was a lot there. But this one, it has just so much like great
And
humor
this
with
one's
it.
longer too, which is I think
Yeah.
helps it too. This one had 8 episodes as to Loki 6, and they weren't all hours either. Where like this one, we got like a big chunk of TV. It felt like, and every week I was looking forward to it, and every week it felt like was just getting better, and I was looking forward to it more and more.
Yeah. And like you said, the Mern twist was when I was like, I really like the show to like, I love the show and I don't know where we're going next. And it makes me love it even more. Where like with Boba Fett, I was like, I don't know what show is going to be on next week. And like that was, I think, getting off of that where it did leave me so unsatisfied with some of the tented stuff. The fact that this one gave me everything I wanted, stuff I didn't even know I wanted. So honestly, like I'm so hesitant to put it above Loki, but I could see me putting above Loki. I think WandaVision is definitely 3 on my list because, like you said, it didn't quite nail, which is partially our fault. Like I wasn't on Reddit breaking
Of
down every
course, yeah.
episode, and even if I was, I don't know half these people in DC. People were probably even like
Yeah.
hoping would come up, but the fact they gave us that Justice League cameo at the end, which I loved, and then like WandaVision, those first few episodes, the black and white ones didn't quite land. And then there
Yep.
was some stuff. I think WandaVision did peak around episode 3 to 4 when it was like the 80s into the 90s and 70s, like soap opera or sitcoms. But yeah, it's 1 or 2 for me. And like you said, Guardians would be the comparison, I would say, if I had to choose one of the Marvel franchises for it.
By the way, did you see the article about how DC and Marvel kind of collaborated, quote unquote, on this
Yeah.
finale? Kind of a cool thing. If people don't know, apparently James Gunn shot a screen test for one of the actors in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 while he was on set for the Suicide Squad. So, because Marvel kind of like owed DC one, they were able to let James Gunn shoot the Flash's cameo while on set for Guardians 3. So, like, this was kind of a weird DC Marvel crossover.
What if James Gunn doesn't become the Feige of DC? He just becomes like the Feige of like all
The Gandhi, where he
comics.
just like makes
Yeah.
everyone come together.
Or he just becomes, yeah, like of all nerd culture. Like he even transcends, goes into Star Wars. He brings
Yeah.
everyone together. Like a Pokemon
Oh,
comes in.
imagine a James Gunn Star Wars project. Like how fucked up that would be, but how cool it would be.
It
Like
would
what
be
would he
so
want to
good.
do? I
It would be
wonder what
so
he
good.
would want to do if you gave him Star Wars project. Wonder if
Filoni,
he's ever
do
like
it.
did a tweet or an interview about that. I'll have to look into that. Let's get into some
Filoni,
more of the
Favreau,
awards.
Filoni, Feige, Favreau, the big three. Put them together. Make it
Yeah. Oh
happen.
shit.
Dude,
The
Disney, you
three
signed the
Fs.
checks, Mickey Mouse. Do the fucking thing.
All right. Do you want to do chips comparison? Do you want to do MVP, LVP? What are you feeling?
We'll do MVP, LVP, and then we'll do predictions for season 2, and then we'll kind of just wrap it all up with the chips. Does that sound
All
good?
right, all right. Yep, let's do MVP. My MVP, gotta tell you, is the chalk pick. It's John Cena. He did some acting in this show that even me, a John Cena fan since I was very little, did not see coming from him. I was stunned with his acting ability. I feel like, other than The Rock, he might be like the number one wrestler actor. I know Batista's up there with Drax, but Batista also does a lot of like stone face acting in all of his movies, in Dune and Blade Runner. John Cena had fucking range in this show, and he had some comedic timing that I didn't see coming from him. Even he has great comedic timing in like Blockers, some of his old movies. So John Cena is my MVP. It's a chalk pick, but it felt like the right one for me.
That's fair. That's a fair pick. And I figured you might go with that too. So this is where I'm at with John Cena. I know it's a long shot, but you know what? I like long shots. When I'm responsibly betting on the Barstool Sportsbook, I like to bet pluses. I don't like to bet minuses, favorites, all that stuff. I like to do a little parlay, whatever. I want to bet Cena's gonna win like an Oscar one day. Right? Like,
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be best actor Oscar. Like fucking took Leo forever to get that, but just an Oscar. I want to bet that somewhere. So if the Barstool Sportsbook could ever get that, that would be fucking pretty goddamn sweet. So my MVP, I kind of wanted to go a little outside the box because it's like if you don't go see it, it's like not picking LeBron, right? And so I'm going with just the music in general. And again, you are more of a fan of this music, and our guy Large, I know he loves this, and I've recommended this show like 5 times to him already. And I'm basically becoming the people that were telling us like, hey, you idiots, watch this shit. But that music, I couldn't even tell you half the songs, but they just fit so seamlessly.
Even I couldn't. A lot of them were like pretty obscure.
Yeah. And then, like you said, with like the 11th Street Kids, like, and that, like the song, and then the whole picture. And then, like you said, if they got tattoos, like that does, it kind of progresses the story along, and it kind of just brings you into that universe. And again, it cannot be overstated just how fucking good that intro is. And it kind of just is like, all right, it's Peacemaker time. Wigwam. By the way, that song, this kind of ruined it for me.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
All right. So if people don't want the opening intro ruined for them, earmuffs, like under your headphones, if you're listening to this, it was made in 2010. That
the song is made kind of as, a tribute, a throwback to that genre. There are bands from this kind of 2010s and on that do like tribute. Steel Panthers one, Foxy Shazam is one, Wigwam is one, and they're throwback bands. And as a fan of glam metal, I love them because they're almost like, I think Steel Panther was the one that kind of started as like a pop punk where they were like, we're making fun of this. And then they were like, but we're making fun of it because we love it and because we want to write songs in this style. And now they fucking tour, arenas, basically. They go on cruises where people are just paying to see them. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you said it, like the pop punk, they pop punk this shit, and it's absolutely amazing. So a little outside the box, MVP is music.
All right, LVP. And I thought real long and hard for this one because I love so many people on this show. I love so many characters. I was like, I don't want to give the LVP to anyone. I thought about Abadeo for hiding the journal, and I was like, but she came up big in the end. She ratted out her mom, so no, it's not her. And then I thought about like, is it Eagly for dropping the sonic boom? I was like, no, you can't give it to Eagly because I love Eagly. He'll give me a big hug, right? The LVP.
The hug scene was unreal. The hug scene was unreal.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that. Both hug scenes, amazing. The LVP for me is Superman. Superman sees a bunch of motherfuckers hurt, and I'm not the first person to point this out, and he's just floating there in the darkness, doing nothing with his fucking weird CGI mustache, I'm sure, trying to hide that from us. So Superman is my LVP because Clark Kent, I think, should, go 100 miles an hour, pick up Harcourt, and bring her to the nearest hospital. But instead, he was just floating there, letting fucking Barry and Aquaman banter.
A+ pick, Bob. Justice League was my LVP. That's how you know you have a good show. It's when you don't want to pick an LVP, at least valuable player. So the Justice League was my pick. However, I have a backup because I thought that might be the case as well. I'm just going to say racists. All the racists in the show. And because the racists, every time they were on screen, they fucked up somehow, right? When they're chasing the raccoon or when they're just getting their tits lit up, in the final battle scene, all that kind of stuff. And fuck racists. We don't fucking like racists.
And the closed caption gang saw every time it said like racist thug groan.
Yeah. Racist asshole. And I feel like they kind of like threw some shade at the racist, which I thought was very funny as well. So I was like, I can't go wrong picking racist as LVP, right? So, and they would just die gruesome deaths. Anyone that had racist as their closed captioning would have their like head explode. So that was great.
It felt like Inglourious Bastards at times where like the ending of that, you get to see all the Nazis get lit up and you're like, like seeing like racist people die. You're like, fuck fuck yeah. The whole White Dragon storyline, by the way, credit to our guy from Terminator 2. Great actor, great character, like everything about that. When he went into the prison and they all did like the Hail the White Dragon, I was like, oh, fuck, this is a bad motherfucker. And I loved his quote about why he accepted the role as well. He's like, James Gunn told me Peacemaker is a vile human being, and I need to be even more vile, disgusting, and just the worst person you could ever imagine. Who doesn't want to play that role?
He's awesome, man. That dude is the best, and he absolutely nailed it. And just like the banter with it again, the neighbor plays off of him so well, played off of Peacemaker so well.
I loved his mullet when they did the flashback scenes. That was hysterical. Every time they showed that.
Oh, and when they showed the poor brother having the like seizure, I couldn't even watch that scene by like the fifth flashback and the shit coming out of his mouth.
And when they do it, when they do the Home Sweet Home to end the one episode, and then they come back with Home Sweet Home like by Motley Crue in the flashback, you realize why he was playing that. Oh my god, that was brutal. Let's do some season 2 predictions. Now you're gonna say, Robbie, these are the most Robbie Fox season 2 predictions ever, because I have 3, and they all involve my guy Batman, as I'm wearing the Batman pajamas. I think Batmite may appear, one of the most ridiculous characters in the history of DC Comics. They referenced him. They talked about him. I think he could appear. I said maybe Batman villains in general, because James Gunn is a big Batman fan. He loved playing with Harley Quinn. We might be getting a James Gunn Harley Quinn project moving forward. So I think maybe some Batman villains. Imagine like Peacemaker versus Bane, like an actual luchador style Bane where he's got the wrestling mask on or something. I could see that. That was rumored, I think, for this season, and it never came to fruition. But if we're getting a Gotham show and everything, why not? The Batman's got so many villains. Kite Man, have him fight Kite Man, his big nemesis. And my final one. This would be dependent on where Peacemaker 2 takes place in the DC timeline, I guess, with things moving forward, as Keaton as our new Batman. But what if Michael Keaton just drops down and fucking punches Peacemaker, puts him in his place? He's like, stop talking shit. And then he like runs away.
That would be awesome.
What if that's the Peacemaker season 2 like ending where he drops down, punches him in the face, says stop talking shit, and hits a smoke bomb?
Well, one of my predictions I had said earlier was the whole going down thing. So whether Batman goes down or the joke is made or there's something done. So I should have known Bob Fox was just going to have 3 fucking Batman predictions for a show. Not even
we got a new Batman movie coming out within a month. I'm so hyped up.
Oh, it'd be great if they had like the Little Caesars pizza calzone, and they're like they mentioned that. Which, by the way, we got
to eat that soon. Yeah, we will find out a day to do that. Yeah, I'll drive up.
Another prediction for season 2 that I have is I feel like the sexual tension between Hardcore and Peacemaker is just going to get ramped the fuck up just because we had the little hand holding scene at the end there.
With James Gunn, bold human being, by the way, writing his girlfriend into some sex scenes with John Cena, possibly.
John fucking Cena. Like, I'm not even having them share like a room together. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then my last prediction is we are going to get a character named Lucifer in the show, and it's going to be kind of like a little like WandaVision, like where's Mephisto? It's like, oh, we've been waiting for you to show up, you never showed up, something like that. Maybe a little Mephisto, or just bring Mephisto in as a general
DC Mephisto.
Yeah, like maybe James Gunn, that could be his whole thing where he's like cool with Marvel and DC. It's like, listen, Marvel, if you assholes aren't going to use Mephisto, DC doesn't give a shit what we put on screen. They're letting me do whatever the hell I want. Give us Mephisto. I'll throw him on screen and do a little nod towards the WandaVision craziness that went on back in the day.
Yeah, if they have like what do you think? The devil's going to show up? Like, is there some joke about that?
And it's like, the witch and a robot, walk into a room and out comes the devil or something like that.
By the way, I could make a Mephisto prediction for something completely not related to this.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to see next week Studio 666, which is the Foo Fighters horror film. And Dave Grohl played the devil in Tenacious D and the Pig of Destiny. I think Jack Black should play the devil in this movie. That's my prediction for that.
Wow. I like that. I like that a lot.
All right, and finally, we are going to do a chips comparison in honor of Judo Master. We usually do the fast food one, but Clem, you had the idea to kind of mix it up and do a chips comparison. And this one, I'm sure, was a lot easier for you than it was for me as a chips connoisseur.
What does that mean, Bob? What does that mean?
You're a chips connoisseur. No, you're a chips connoisseur. I'm not really. This sounds bad. I'm not as much of a chips guy. I love chips, but like in my cabinet right now, I got no chips. I just got goldfish, pretzels, stuff like that.
Are you a sweets guy? Are you more of like a dessert
Yeah,
guy? Or okay,
yeah,
that's
I'm
fair.
a sweet guy for
Everyone
sure.
usually it's one or the other. So I'm both, and that's why I am where I am. But that makes sense. Okay, so do you want to lead it off, or you want me to lead it off?
I'll lead it off because I feel like you have the true chips pick,
This
the
one's
true
deep.
chips
This is a
mind.
deep
Yeah.
cut. Yeah.
So mine is kind of a deep cut as well. Back in the day, and I'm sure you remember this, Lay's made a classic BLT flavor.
Mm. Yes, yes. I
The
might have reviewed
Lay's
that.
classic BLT is my pick because this was a bag that my mom came home with. Mama Fox, God bless her, loves bringing home bizarre snacks, weird snacks, new snacks, kind of like how you try the 15-second snack reviews. Like
Yep.
Mama Fox is the same way, but she doesn't want to try it herself. She brings it home and she's like, "You try it." And I'm like, "All right, I guess yeah, sure." She brought home the classic Lay's BLT chips, and I went through a bag of those like that. I like the classic Lay's BLT more than I like an actual BLT. I don't like a BLT as much as I like these chips. And I was stunned at how much I liked them. We only got a little bit and they were a limited time thing. So I hope Peacemaker isn't as limited. But that was my thing because I couldn't believe how much I liked such a bizarre thing.
And then by the time you're done binging it or consuming it, you're like, wow. And now you want more. And you're like, I
Yep.
can't believe that was so good. Absolutely perfect way to go about it, because mine kind of goes into the same ilk. So my pick for Peacemaker season 1, or the series review, if you want to call it so far, it is the spicy sweet chili Doritos. For those that don't know, it's in the
Ooh.
purple bag,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
doesn't get a ton of publicity. Obviously, you have, like with Peacemaker, you have your Batmans and your Supermans. Those are your nacho cheese and your Cool Ranch, and even all like the other flavors, the Salsa Verde, maybe that could be like Aquaman and stuff like that. And this is something that I had never even like tried these chips before. And I had a buddy named Dingman, and he's like, dude, you got to get the spicy sweet chili Doritos. They're so good. And when you eat them, you're fucking like, oh shit, they're awesome. They're aggressive because you have the spicy, but then that sweet leaves you wanting more. And that is exactly like Peacemaker, where it's like, it's violent, but it has, some comedy to it. It kind of has like a nice heart about it as well. And it kind of just like, and it's something that I would have never tried in a million years if I wasn't bombarded with requests like we were, right? And it's fucking, and it honestly, like, I would probably say if I had to like, nacho cheese are my favorite Doritos in the world, and I think Batman is probably my favorite DC
Probably.
hero, because they just haven't nailed the Superman stuff. I feel like Superman was always like the biggest guy growing up. He's the first, I feel like, superhero you hear of, but
Yeah.
Batman is definitely the best DC. Dark Knight is a top 5 favorite movie of mine. I'll give it to you, Bob Fox. But like, that's the nacho cheese in my life. But I'll tell you, like, I could say spicy sweet chili might even top Cool Ranch in my mind. I'm starting to worry about Cool Ranch. It might be falling off. I saw Cool Ranch. They just came out with the hot version of it, the flaming hot.
I saw that, yeah.
That fucking guy, Judo Master's definitely be rocking those. Like, does
Yeah.
James Gunn have like stock in Frito Lay? Like, he had to have that, because I was fiending flaming hot Cheetos by the end of this. Every time he came on screen, it was like Pavlov's dog. I'd see Judo Master, I just start salivating.
Another thing I mentioned to you that I wanted to mention in this podcast, Eagly must be to make up for all the birds he killed in the Suicide Squad. Everyone was like, "Do you hate birds, dude? What the fuck? You killed birds left and right." He's like, "All right, I'll give you guys like the greatest bird sidekick we could ever imagine. A CGI eagle that's, hugging people. He's amazing."
He's the best. He's the best fucking like sidekick in the Eagly. They did the best friends ranking, where it's like, hey, you're my like second best friend, or you're my favorite best friend.
Yeah.
I feel like Eagly is like sidekick rankings, like as hot as it gets right now. Eagly is number 1 for people that have actually seen Peacemaker. So that's going to be our comments here. Our comments, leave the 5-star reviews on iTunes. And if you want to do it, you can do it on iTunes if you don't watch on YouTube. But everyone on YouTube, I want your MVP, I want your LVP, and most importantly, I want your chips comparison. I want to read some chip stuff. I want to hear shit I never even heard of before. I want all the favorites. Leave them in the comments on YouTube, or if you want to leave the 5-star review on iTunes, leave the 5-star on Spotify if you do it there too.
Spotify.
Whatever. I've never said Spotify before. I am not that old. I swear that was
sounded British or something. And the giveaway, we're going to make a separate video for. We'll make like a 5-minute video to put on the YouTube, so it's more of kind of a big thing, but that'll be Monday. Let's aim for Monday. So if you emailed us a screenshot of you to be subscribed, look out for that on Monday, and we'll announce the 3 winners of that giveaway. I'll once again put the video of all the prizes on screen now. A lot of Star Wars stuff. You see some Marvel stuff on the screen. It is very good stuff. Look at that Monopoly. Oh, look at all that. All right. Now, that was our Peacemaker Season 1 finale / Season 1 as a whole review. Anything else before we get out of here, Clem?
No, well, I wanted to say it was probably a good idea not to have it in this video for like the people who've never seen Peacemaker. Like I have to like avoid spoilers.
I was thinking that's what I was thinking.
Call.
Like some of the people are probably just watching Boba.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the other thing is on the, obviously that was to get to 10,000. Get us to 20,000 now. So we need subscribers on the YouTube. If we get to 20,000 by the time the Batman comes out March 4th, we are going to do a full production of the Peacemaker dance intro, which I realize a lot of people don't really know how ridiculous it is unless they've seen the show. So if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribing to it takes you go to barstool.link.
Create a burner. Come on. Every Gmail account you have, just come on, log in, subscribe for us. It would help us out so much.
In the upper right-hand corner, you just switch account. It takes 2 seconds and you go to barstool.link/MMB, all in caps MMB. And it even just pops up and it just says, do you want to subscribe? It is so fucking easy to do. Tell your friends to be like, listen, there's these 2 idiots that I listen to. I want to see them. And then again, we're going to have Frank the Tank in there. We have Nate, who said he's going to wear the mask for it.
He said he'll bring the mask out, which is like the Demon Balor, he said. It's like when Finn Balor goes demon, yeah.
Nick Hamilton, who's basically like the Kevin Feige already of fucking Barstool with his like editing wizardry, right? And then once a couple people do it, everyone's going to want to do it. We have people at Barstool that can actually make this look cool and actually ridiculous. The gifts that are going to come from it, the nonsense that's going to come from it. So all you got to do is go to the My Mom's Basement YouTube, click subscribe. If we get to 20K by March 4th, I'm at the point where I want to do it, but then I can't do it if we don't get to 20K. It's like,
we want to do it.
I just look
Come
at
on, let us do it.
Make me do it. Please make my kids even more embarrassed.
I also want to give a shout out before we get out of here to David and Hannah, who have been helping us out make some social clips. I appreciate both of you.
And Mario too.
And Mario. And I just want to read this DM I just got while we were on the podcast from a friend of ours. I think I could say who this is. It's Justin Kroll. And he said, believe the hype with a bat emoji. Wow, I feel like that's a good note to end it on. I mean, get excited, motherfuckers! DC, that 8-8 season is the floor for this year. It is the floor.
This is Bengals shit right here. It's like when the Bengals beat the shit. Like if they come out,
you're catching momentum.
If they land the Batman, that would be like when the Bengals beat the shit out of the Ravens the first time. You're like, oh wait, the Bengals are like that, huh? This could be it, man. 8-8 is the floor.
And I trust Justin Kroll. I mean, he didn't like Infinity War, so that's sus. But
that is sus. I didn't hear that, Bob. I didn't hear that.
All right. We will see you on Monday for the giveaway contest, and we will see you next week for, I don't know what next week's pod might be. It might be a Moon Knight pod. It might be a Batman pod, but it'll be a fun one. So make sure you tune into the pod. Make sure you tune into the YouTube feed.